The show where there are no penalties, nothing is offside, and everything is fair game. This is The Gloves Are Off.
Welcome to another edition of Gloves Are Off. I'm Moses Waldu, and of course the chatter here, we can't stop these guys for very good reason. They have a lot to talk about, including the great topics about the AJHL playoffs. We also have the Toronto Maple Leafs that keep struggling, and of course those Toronto Blue Jays, speaking of struggling, lost 9-2 to the Rays last night. Will they do it again? We'll see what happens. But we have to introduce these fine gentlemen, of course. They are with the Bobcats organization. I'm going to start off with Bob Troup. You are one of the Board of Governors. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. I like that. Very formal. Speaking of formal, this man, you grow probably one of the meanest beards in junior hockey. You're looking very clean shaven, and probably one of the top D-men, and a guy that the Bobcats will be looking forward to seeing in the orange and black next season. Of course, I'm meaning to talk about Tyler Kunz. How are you doing, man?
Good, thank you.
Awesome. Now, I do want to talk about the AJHL and kind of get things going, because if you look at the North Final, you guys faced Fort Mac. Fort Mac, very tough. You took them to 7 games. Not only that, but you beat them at the Casman Center. You look at Spruce Grove. They did have injuries, in particular with their goalie, Kenny Cameron, who you are familiar with. You played with a season ago. But they struggled at home, losing their first 2 games, come back last night and win in Fort Mac. Now, down 2-1 in this series, playing Game 4 tonight. Do you see Spruce Grove pulling out another victory on the road and evening up this series?
You know, I'd like to think yes. You know, I know a lot of good guys on that team, but I think Fort Mac, just the style they play, how much skill they have, I think they're gonna take it in 5.
Bob?
I believe Fort Mac will win too. I think we played very, very well against Fort Mac, and I think we put on a better show than probably Spruce Grove will. Realize Spruce Grove's team is young too, younger than Fort Mac's, but I believe that probably 5 or 6 games yet.
And I find that a little surprising from you guys, knowing how well, especially Tyler, you were in that battle with the Oil Barons. You guys took them to 7. You guys pretty much put a blueprint in terms of how to play effectively on the road. You guys don't see Spruce Grove doing the same?
No, I don't think so.
Simple enough. But what are some of the reasons that you feel like, what are some of the intangibles you need to do to win a game on the road in Fort Mac?
Oh, well, there's lots of factors that go into it. I think the one thing that helped us out a lot was just their style of play. How we're so physical, we're in your face. I don't think Fort Mac, with all their skilled guys, you know, they don't really like playing against that a whole lot. And a team like Spruce Grove is also skill. Not too physical, not too hard to play against. So, you know, that's what I think.
Okay, I want to get to the next topic, the Toronto Maple Leafs. I know, Bob, you're a Leafs fan, so you must be chomping at the bit for this one, and probably a little nervous. You look at this team a couple weeks ago, they looked like they were solid. This was a team that you're like, you know what, they'll make it to the playoffs, and you never know what can happen. And all of a sudden, Jonathan Bernier goes down. Reimer has been playing well, being criticized by his coach, Randy Carlisle. It started this feud, then all of a sudden, that great California road trip they had evaporated, and this team is on the outside looking in, chasing teams like Detroit, who they lost to in a 4-point swing on Saturday, 4-2. So I will start with you, Bob, about this one. Do the Leafs have a realistic chance of making the postseason right now?
They have a chance, but they got to play a lot better hockey than they're playing right now, and I blame a lot of that on coaching. Once you start creating enemies in the dressing room, such as Reimer, you've got a problem, and I think that they are a little bit in disarray.
We talk about great coaching is pretty much a staple and something that you need. I know with Gary, he's been a great influence on you guys. But knowing where the Leafs are, what you see from the outside looking in, we're not necessarily there. We don't have a crystal ball, but they are 2 games behind, or have 2 games less than teams like Columbus, teams like Detroit. Do you think they can catch them at this point?
Sorry, Bob, but I'm going to have to say no. They're on an 8-game skid now, and I don't know. They're
if you were one of the Leafs, if you're on that team, if you're in that dressing room, the stories that you're hearing now, Like, would that motivate you or deny you, or do you feel that there's a lot of panic going on in that Leafs dressing room?
I imagine there's lots of panic. Making the playoffs is, it's not something that's easy to do in the NHL, and especially with 2 less games or 2 more games played, I guess, than everyone else. That's they're not really putting themselves in a great situation.
How about Vancouver? You look at Vancouver, their team on the outside looking in. Last year, it's kind of funny to look at. Their biggest problem was who's going to be their starting goaltender, and now they have no goaltender. And if you look at the guys that are aging, they haven't played well under the system of John Tortorella. They play the New York Rangers tonight against Alain Vigneault, who makes his first return. Do you guys see this ending up going Vancouver's way, one, and B, are they actually in a worse situation than the Leafs are right now?
I think definitely in a worse situation. They basically sold the farm at the deadline, got rid of their best goalie, one of the best goalies in the league, actually, and it's just a whole mess going on there right now, and I can't see him making the playoffs, no.
Bob?
I have to agree with Tyler. Yeah, they blew it last year when they played with Luongo's mind, and I don't think the Tortorella hiring was a great thing, especially in Canada. Like, you can hide him in the States, but you can't up here.
Oh, are you kidding me? He was in New York. That's the epicenter when it comes to media scrutiny. And he suffered a lot of it. And but I guess, I don't know if it's his abrasiveness or what it is, because he seems like that type of guy, even though that the players say they do like him. I know he's alienated a few, Roberto being one of them.
Yep.
But do you see him being that guy that will lead this team to the postseason at any point?
No, I don't think he'll last there long enough. I also feel that their teams, like Vancouver's team, is getting old. The playing around with goaltenders last year really hurt them. They should have made a decision on one or the other right off the bat and gone with it instead of played with Luongo's mind and again this year. But all that stuff adds to dissension on your hockey team, and now you got players that may not go back to them, like Bieksa. You got Kessler, who knows with him. Sedins are getting older. I think they're on their way down, not up.
No, it should be interesting to see, and I feel sorry for Bo Horvat, because he was the guy that was instrumental in coming in with that trade to New Jersey for Corey Schneider. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. All right, we're going to take a quick TV timeout. When we return, we're going to talk about Jerome Iginla next and the resurgence of good old number 12. He's got 30 goals this season and a few more coming up.